It is great to be here at Boost Biz Ed Denver today. Thank you all for joining us. We are here for some great networking and to refuel with actionable education to take our businesses higher one action at a time. Take great notes and mark what action you can immediately take so we can share at the end. I am going to introduce our speaker for the day, David Secondo. And he is with Your Way LLC, and he is presenting today on Kill Distraction, Optimize Your Mental Operating System. David is the founder of Your Way LLC and has worked as an executive coach and seminar leader for 5 years in private and public sectors, including financial services, health and wellness, sports, technology, education, municipalities, and nonprofit. He is a certified integral coach, speaker, and facilitator. With rousing applause, please help me welcome David.
All right, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I love this space. You guys love this space or what? Yeah. Super cool. I'm definitely a connector as well, so just being in this open space is really helpful for me. So without further ado, I want to jump in. When I thought about the most important thing that I could teach you guys today and talk about is really about upgrading your operating system, the mental operating system. So instead of focusing on some small, tiny kind of tweaks and strategies, I would like you to think about the bigger picture. And let's just jump right in. So this is for entrepreneurs who want to be more effective. Raise your hand if that sounds like you. You want to be more effective? Do you want freedom terms? Yeah. You want to own your entrepreneurial genius and stop playing Office. When I say stop playing Office, it's doing things that you hate. I heard a few people kind of saying those things. That I'm kind of doing these things I don't like to do. So think about that. So in this session, I'm going to teach you how to do more of what you love, what's the highest value for your company, how to stay super focused, working less. Sounds good, right? Subconsciously, are you thinking, is that really possible? Increase your revenue by working less? I don't know. How to eliminate distraction with your goals. How to say no to all the fluff slowing you down. So here's the thing, guys. We tend to be just operating on autopilot every day. We wake up, the alarm, do whatever we're going to do in the morning, get to work. At the end of the day, we're exhausted. Go to bed, start over all over again. Well, if you keep operating on autopilot, eventually your business is going to suffer. Your revenue is going to suffer, your life is going to suffer, your energy. So I want you to really take this very seriously, because if you keep operating on autopilot, you're not going to get ready for growth. You're going to if you keep adding in new things on your daily basis without upgrading what I call your operating system. It's kind of like, you're working on an old Windows machine and you keep trying to put the latest software on. It starts to slow down, right? It starts to lag. And then you try to get this greatest new tool, new tip, throw that on the old operating system. Gets slower and slower. What I'd like to do is let go of all those tips, upgrading the system. So here's my promise to you. A step-by-step strategy to become exponentially more productive. Raise your hand if that sounds good. All right. So does this sound like you? There's always something that can't move forward because you? Like a monkey juggling things on a unicycle? You feel like you should always be working? You feel like you're stressed, anxious, being stretched to the max? There's not enough time to do it all, and you've been saying it's only temporary. How long have you been saying this is only temporary for? I'll be, if I make that next sale, if I do this, I'll take a vacation. Sound familiar? So, all of those things that I just showed you are not the real problem. The real problem are what we call in the coaching world competing commitments. I'm sorry if I'm getting too close, but Competing commitments. It's when you value one thing very highly, but yet you undermine that by valuing something else that's its exact opposite just as highly, if not more. So, I value free time, for example. I value my own health, my own energy, my own vitality. I want to take vacations. I don't want to work like crazy. But then on the other hand, maybe I have a competing commitment that is me valuing hard work. And I have, my ego, my self-worth is tied up in working a certain amount of hours. And then I have to put in those hours to feel good. Okay? What I like to call this is the bottleneck. Excuse me, sir. Just gonna grab some water. When I say bottleneck, it means that everything is coming down to you. You're trying to do it all. And it's a pretty good visual, right? You have this funnel, basically, of all these things you're trying to do, but then it's getting stuck with you. And this is what really stops businesses from growing, also due to you. I'm asking you that as a question. You see that it stops the business growth. What does it do to you as a person? Stresses you out. You have all this stuff on your shoulders, trying to do it all. So you can see logically that it doesn't make sense, right? But there's that autopilot. Just wake up and do it again. Just wake up and do it again. Keep pushing. Keep hustling, as they say in this entrepreneurial world. Keep grinding. These are like terms that are lauded as great things in our culture. Hustle and grind. Make things happen. You know? Work hard, play harder. So, when you get this, you're going to be doing more of what you love. You're going to be able to take regular vacations without feeling guilty. And you're going to get more done in a day than you normally do in a week. And that sounds crazy, but it's true. So if there's one thing that I want you to remember from today, stop trying to do it all. Okay. A little bit about me. I've trained and coached hundreds of CEOs, entrepreneurs, and leaders as a certified executive coach, integral coach. I worked in the for-profit sectors, non-profit sectors. Been doing that for 5 years. Productivity is really my thing, but productivity with energy. I've founded 3 companies myself, and I'm also a Buddhist geek. I've been a Buddhist for 13 years. Practice, so teach mindfulness, teaching. Though you might, think that would be a good thing for killing distraction. It is, but once again, that's a software that you'd be putting onto the old operating system. I want to overhaul the operating system. But I wanted to give you a little insight into the way that I think. I'm really into the way the mind works, how we approach life. As you know, our life is flexible. We can basically create whatever we want, especially as a business owner, especially as an entrepreneur. We can create what we want. Business we want. I'll get more into that in a little bit. So here's some of the recent clients that I've worked with, just to show you that I'm not just a schmuck off the street. So a little bit about my story. I was working the 9 to 5, the daily grind, the rat race. And I've always been entrepreneurial, so I couldn't handle it. I had to get out. Started my own business. I started doing what that you had to do. Get out there, network, make phone calls, send emails, get on every social media platform. Sound familiar? I started to basically hit a wall. I hit burnout. One day I couldn't get out of bed. Stuck in bed all day. Not doing anything. And I realized there had to be a better way. I valued, why was I pushing myself to the brink of exhaustion? So I did. I hired a coach. Well, I tried everything first on my own. Before I hired a coach, I tried all of the productivity tips and tricks. Get your inbox to zero, get everything really fully lined up with all the systems. You know what it felt like to me? More stuff. I was already exhausted and broken down because I was trying to do all the stuff. And now I was trying to do more stuff, which didn't feel natural to me. I wasn't good at it. So then I hired a coach. This coach, who was a master coach, this inspired me to get certified in integral coaching. She inspired me to say no to everything. I said no to everything, and I just opened up some space. So first thing, don't be afraid to say no to everything. Space. She taught me to assassinate autopilot. Kill autopilot. Because whatever you're doing is that old operating system. You know that Einstein quote, you keep doing the same thing and you expect the definition of insanity. Well, we do it every day, right? We constantly want new things, but we keep doing the same old things. Competing commitments. Bottleneck. And then lastly, I got back in touch with doing more of what I love, not those things that I hated. Okay, so the results, now I take a yearly trip to Asia, month-long minimum. This is some pictures from the Himalayas. That was Nepal. This is flying over Tibet. This is Colombia. Some fruit from Colombia. That's Tibet. Oh, geez, my controller went crazy. And on top of that, I do at least a month every year of personal retreat. So a month travel, a month retreat. My business is growing more than it ever has before. Sounds nice, right? It's from overhauling things. This is my definition of success. Happiness, freedom, fulfillment. Obviously, we're business owners. We need to make money. But for me, I like to put my money towards experiences, not just to make more money. So, here's my question to you. Is what you're doing now giving you the life that you want? So, I have a strategic process that I guide people through, starting from getting strategic alignment, ending in a new way of being. But we're going to focus here today because we only have a little bit of time. I call this the bottleneck eliminator. And it's exponential growth. It's focused on exponential growth. So, why does this system work? Here's what it's founded on. The law of diminishing returns. Raise your hand. Have you heard of that? The law of diminishing returns states that for every unit of input, you do not necessarily get the corollary output. Okay? There's a very productive phase in everything that we do. But at a certain point, we hit that point of diminishing returns. A lot of us don't notice this. The analogy I like to use is of a farmer putting fertilizer in the soil. They fertilize the soil. It really helps the crops to grow. Now, they keep putting the fertilizer on there. Eventually, the crops, they can only grow so much, right? They're going to hit their kind of threshold. Now, if you keep putting that fertilizer on there, you have the threshold, the returns start diminishing, and then eventually you'll even get negative returns. You'll start sucking the life out of the land and the crops. We're used to, on autopilot, hustling, grinding, pushing through it, thinking that we are not good enough, maybe, thinking that we need to be working harder, and just going. At the end of the day, we're kind of trashed. Our business is not really growing like we wanted it to. So this is where we want to focus. We want to focus right here in this most productive area. It's about using the power of leverage. So I call this the productivity trilogy. Time, energy, revenue. And when you have all those three things, you have the sweet spot. You need all of them. If you focus just on one, you're gonna trash your energy. You're not gonna be focused on your time. If you're only focused on time, let go of your revenue, your energy. If you only focus on your energy, then you might just be out playing in the mountains, and you're not going to have the other two things, right? So, I'm also going to cover 3 myths. So 3 myths, and I'm going to give you 3 productivity superpowers. The first myth, which I've already covered a little bit, is to work more. That working more is going to give us more return. Well, the news shows that that's not true. Americans are working more than ever, but productivity is plummeting. The work martyrs. Long hours make you less productive. So the research now shows, law of diminishing returns, right? You work too many hours, you're actually going to be less productive. Let that one sink in. Productivity superpower number 1 is to own your zone of genius. This is where I love to start. What's the zone of genius? It's that thing that you are so good at that nobody else, you're a connector. First thing that pops to mind. So that's where you should be operating. Great thing you're opening a co-working space. So a lot of times we might not even know what our zone of genius is, but what I want you to think about with zone of genius is that this is the secret of the top 1%. This is where leverage comes into play. And it's also your superpower. So what is it that just gets you going, that gets you super excited, that you could do it all day, every day? It might even bring up the question of, why did you start your business in the first place? Because I know for me, I started a business because I don't like to have a boss. I'm very creative. I can't be limited by the 9 to 5. But when I started working 10, 12-hour days in my business, I knew I wasn't owning my superpower. I was not in my zone of genius. So it's that thing that just lights you up. And it's actually, there's a name for it, it's called flow. Russian psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, hard to say, he wrote a book on this called Flow Psychology. And there is actually a science to this. There's 3 components to the flow state. It's that place when you have that energized focus, full involvement in the activity that you're doing, and enjoyment in the process. So when you talk about distraction, it's kind of the opposite of this, right? Yeah. So here is the flow matrix. Here's how this is called the flow channel in the middle here. Oh, I can use my nifty. Oh, it's not really working. The flow channel. We can be in the flow when we match our skill level with the level of challenge. And it can be, you don't need to be Michael Jordan to be in the flow when you're playing basketball. All right? The analogy I like to use is of a ski hill. So imagine a bunny hill. You guys know what the bunny hill is? It's where you start out. So if you're a beginner and you're just putting on skis, you can be in the flow state with a low skill level by just having a low challenge, which is the bunny hill. That puts you in the flow state. Now, if you're a master at something already and you have a low challenge, where does that put you? Boredom. So an expert skier that gets put on the bunny hill is like, what the hell am I doing here? Let's get moving. Now, on the opposite end, a beginning skier gets dropped up at the top of the mountain, double black diamond. What's going to happen there? Panic, freak out, anxiety. So with every single activity that you do in your day, you need to be acutely aware of what it's creating. Because that is the root of distraction. You're going to either be hitting the panic button and escaping, okay, I'm out of here, like the eject button in a fighter jet, right? Eject, I'm out. Or I'm bored to tears. For me, that would be doing data entry. I used to do a lot of talks like this. This is the first one I've given in a while, and do a lot of like health fairs and stuff like that in corporate. I don't do corporate anymore. I work with entrepreneurs, so this is great. But I would have these sheets of information that after the talk I would have to go input the data. I just wanted to kill myself. So I found a way around that, a workaround. It's called Fiverr. It's called Odesk. Virtual assistant. Get somebody else to do it for you. Done a lot quicker, done a lot better. So, I can't really each individual case where you would use this because I have a lot more to talk about. But we can talk about that at the end of the talk. So, real quick, I want to get some feedback from you guys. What does this bring up for you? Yeah, what have you learned so far?
That's true.
Specific, give me one specific in your life.
Push you to take on a mentoring role or do something that makes you uncomfortable. But that being acutely aware, not just every day, because you said every day, but being acutely aware of what each role, each activity that you're doing, what it produces in you. Does it get you excited? Does it get you bored? Does it overwhelm you? If it overwhelms you and you have anxiety, well, you might want to bring in some help, right? You might want to bring in some help to help you with your mind, help you with your mindset, your strategy, or hire a team member. A lot of different ways to look at it. Okay? Bottom line is energy is everything. When you wake up and you feel like you can tackle the world, you can. When you wake up and you feel like, I can't do anything, I feel like I'm getting crushed under 1,000 pounds of responsibility, then you're in reactivity mode. You're going to be, that's how you're going to be showing up. That's what you're going to be doing. Good example of this is a client of mine. She was running around town doing everything. So she owns a fitness business, has tons of programs that are very valuable, but she was running around town teaching classes. She was going from Denver to South Denver, all these things. And I'm like, what are you doing? You need to say no to all that. I helped her eliminate all of that crap because she was the mastermind. She needed to have people teaching for her. So she started to do that. I said, do what you love. So she went out for a hike. On this hike, when she thought she wasn't being productive at all, she got to the top of the mountain, she had an idea. Oh, this person has been waiting for this product, and I've been too busy to offer it to them. Literally on the way down, she made a call and made a $5,000 sale. So I just wanted to show you how this applies to business as well. This isn't just for your personal energy, your personal, wellness, which is really important, but it also helps your business to grow. Because when you upgrade your operating system, then you have more bandwidth. You can see things that you didn't see before. Because stress closes things down. So go like this. Put one hand on one eye. This is stress. This is us going through the world when we're stressed out. And it's a survival mechanism. We can only focus on what's right in front of us. You're not able to innovate, not able to be creative, you're not able to think outside the box. When you get this, your energy will go up and you'll be able to enter into that flow channel. If you don't get this, does this look familiar? Energy going in all directions. Getting a lot of heads nodding. So, here's what I want you to remember. Superpower. You should get paid the most for what is easiest for you to do. If it's easy, it feels light. It gives you that energized focus. That's your zone of genius. That's what only you uniquely bring to this world. That's what people pay big money for. Okay? So it's shifting your mindset to a value-based business mindset, and not just, oh, I do this, and there's 100 other people that do it, so I'm going to beat you on cost. When you think that way, you have to keep lowering your prices, and you can't compete, because there's always somebody bigger and better and faster and cheaper. But when you talk about value, then you have no competition. You're the only one that can do that, and bonus, it's easy for you to do. You love doing it. Okay? Myth number 2, multitasking. Just like the hustle and grind, we think multitasking is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah, I can do 10 things at once. I'm so great because I can do 10 things at once. Let me give you some numbers on what multitasking does. We actually get interrupted, studies show, every 7 minutes, and I think it's going down and down and down. From those interruptions, we lose 2.1 hours per day. A third of our workday is lost, completely gone, simply due to interruptions. Because it causes us to multitask. We're doing something, we interrupt it, we do it, we take on that. We get interrupted again, we take on that. All of a sudden we have 3 things going. Our IQ level can even drop 10 to 15 points if we're multitasking enough. We can get dropped down to an 8-year-old's IQ level. So once again, think of a 95 Windows machine trying to run a current version of, what's your favorite piece of software? Say FaceTime. Okay? Trying to FaceTime with somebody on an old machine. It's not going to work. You're just going to feel drained. Here's productivity superpower number 2. This is the solution to multitasking. It's called deep work. It comes from a book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. With deep work, it's going to beat the multitasking attitude, which I like to use this analogy. If you're digging with water and you're digging a bunch of different holes, you're not really going to hit that water. But if you just dig one deep hole, eventually you're going to hit water. So deep work gives you the ability to focus on a task without distraction. What it is, it's actually getting back in touch with our creative side. It's focusing on one thing in a deep way, cutting out all of that other crap and going deeply into one thing. This allows you to produce better results in less time. So, I'm going to give you 3 strategies for my deep work playbook. Essentially, deep work is turning all that crap off, saying no to all the crap that we think we need to do to focus on what's most important. You might think, how do I know what's most important? I'm going to call you out on that and say that's bullshit. You know what's most important. You don't need somebody to tell you what it is. Excuse my language. If you just sit down with yourself, give yourself some time and some space, ask yourself what's most important. A, in business, B, in life. You're going to get the answers. You might have been avoiding the answers, but they're there. They're waiting for you. So here's the 3 strategies to make deep work part of your life. First thing, you need to ask yourself, am I operating on a builder schedule or a manager schedule? Manager schedule has been handed to us. We've been taught that that's how we're supposed to roll. That's how we're supposed to follow. We're supposed to block out our time into half-hour, hour increments and get as much done as we can. in the least amount of time. Well, the builder schedule is the complete opposite. It's how makers work. It's how builders work. It's how creators work. They block out a full day to do something, or at least a 4-hour, a half day. So let me give you an example. Think about when you wrote papers for school. Did you ever block out half-hour blocks throughout the week to write a paper? Why? You don't get much. Why don't you get much accomplished? It's too short. It's too short. And there's a lot of things in our life and our business that require a lot more time, and we don't give it to it. We tend to focus on the to-do list, doing those quick things that are, that's the manager schedule. There are things that you can get done very quickly. Yes and no replies to an email. But when you're trying to build something that's of real importance, you need to block out some real time. Because when you're writing a paper, for example, an hour in, you're just getting started. You just set up your computer, you start doing this research, you start looking at all your sources, you got some books out, and then you're starting to think about how you're going to tackle it. And the brain thrives on that space. Just like my brain thrives on having all this space being in this room. If we were in a small conference room right now in a corporate headquarters, I would not be happy. So we have to create that space in our mind. And once again, coming back to the flow state, be acutely aware of what you're doing. Not everything requires a 4-hour block of time. If I have a vendor that I need to call that requires it's a very quick conversation, I don't need to block out 4 hours for that. But for the important things, I do. Create pockets of uninterrupted focus. To do deep work, you cannot be interrupted. So, you have an important project. You're gonna block out a big amount of time for it. I want you to turn off your phone. I know. Gasp! Turn off the internet on your computer. You can still work on your computer and have the internet blocked. I know. Let me give you an example of this. I forget his name, and I forget even which network it was, but it was either the founder of Twitter or LinkedIn. He booked himself a flight to Tokyo simply to write a book so that he wouldn't be distracted. You got a solid 20 hours there, back and forth, probably more. Usually it takes me like 16 hours to get to China. So that's a great example. And coming back to the writing analogy, I didn't think of this, but this makes a lot of sense. There's that visual of the writer going into Vermont in his cabin to write his book, to write the masterpiece. There's a reason they do that, That's where the magic happens. You can think of an artist, creating their masterpiece. They got to set out the canvas and the paint. That alone takes a solid hour. So you can't do it in these short increments. Daily, if you're a builder, which I would argue all entrepreneurs are builders, because we have a vision, we want to build something, I would recommend blocking out a 4-hour block of time every day to build. Give yourself the rest of the day the freedom to do those manager tasks. Alternately, you can do CEO days 2 times a week, where you take 2 full days to not work in your business, but to work on your business. And I would even recommend to take it further, instead of just focusing on working on your business, to do some of those things that you really love. Go to the yoga class, go for a hike. Build your hobby airplane, whatever it is, whatever you love to do. Okay. I don't need to read that for you. You can read it yourself. This guy knows what he's talking about. Maybe you've heard of him. It's hard to make something simple, right? We always think we need to make it more complicated. Coming back to those competing commitments. If I do more, and this might be helpful for your services and your products as well. So think about your business. What are you offering? Is it super clear what the outcome is that it provides? You might be trying to offer all these bells and whistles because you think it adds more value, but if people don't see the solution, the problem that it solves, it's pointless. Wasted time and energy. Dr. D, I don't need to tell you too much about him. He's just another one of my clients. I helped him overhaul his business. He got more productive. Done. Myth number 3, getting things done. We think getting things done is the holy grail. There's a book on it of the same title that is supposedly the productivity Bible. It has some good stuff in it. A lot of that inbox to zero kind of stuff. But to me, like I said earlier, it's just more stuff. It's just more stuff, and I don't operate that way. So, as we've talked about, all tasks are not created equal, and I want to actually put some numbers to this. So, I like to call this leveraged ROI. Leveraged return on investment. Here's a process map for an average business. I want you to, don't worry about this. Right now we're just going to look up at the top. This is what you're worth versus what somebody else might be worth. And your business, your workflow, everything is not valued the same. So I have your CEO, I just made up some numbers that you're worth $200 an hour. And as an assistant, the assistant's worth $20 an hour. That might be a little low. I might need to bring that up now. But it's kind of in the middle between a virtual assistant and an in-person assistant. Okay? So you might be doing these tasks that you feel are valuable that you need to be doing. Okay? But it might fall under this role of less valuable. So I like to give this example. You do 4 hours of work that something's worth $20 an hour. You might think that you just saved yourself $80 by doing it, right? Well, what if you were in your zone of genius? What if you were operating out of your superpower during that time? You would have made $800. So by doing this task, doing that lower value work that somebody else could actually do better, that probably drains your energy, makes you bored as hell, or gives you anxiety. Something just hit the fan. Hey! Cool. I would say that you just lost $720. You said it all right there. That's what I just heard. That's a truth bomb right there, right? Oh, crap. So raise your hand if you do that kind of thing every day. All right. I want you to make this your new mantra. What's the highest ROI for my time? What's the highest return on investment for my time? I want you to choose only the high ones, the things that you love, and say no to everything else. Eliminate it or delegate it. 2 options. I started out by eliminating everything. That's what I would recommend at first, because that's going to really help you see that you don't need to be doing everything. Life goes on. Your business goes on. This is another guy that knows what he's talking about. The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. So when you get this right, everything will be profitable. You'll be able to work less. When you talked about getting distracted, when you have this mindset, even distractions are profitable. Because you're saying no to the things that aren't important. Does that make sense? If you don't get it right, you'll be overwhelmed. Revenue's going to hit a growth ceiling. Burnout's inevitable. What got you here won't get you there. Remember that. What got you to where you are, it's very valuable. But to get to the next place that you want to go, you're going to need to develop a new set of skills. A new operating system. So here's the overview. Step 1, zone of genius. What lights you up? Energized focus. thing that you love to do, the reason why you started your business, what you're so good at. Nobody else has that. Step 2, deep work. Create uninterrupted pockets of focused time to do those things, to do the things that you love, to do the things that you're the best at. 3, high ROI activities. Say no to the $20 an hour work. Say yes to the $200 an hour work. Watch your revenue skyrocket. Watch your time work diminish. More free time, more time to focus on your passions. It's a win-win. Oh, this is a big one. What's it costing you to not be implementing this into your business? Average lifespan, 79 years in the US. Worldwide, it's 72. So do the math. How old are you now? Subtract that from the average lifespan. It's a little bit of a morose topic, but I like to contemplate this on a daily basis. The fact that I'm going to die someday. A lot of times we don't think about that. It's really important because when you acknowledge this fact, that alone can change your priorities in a big way. So I like to think of this as more of a lesson in how to live than thinking about death. How do I want to spend my time? Do I want to be doing those tasks that I hate? That, what was I put on this planet to really do? So, I want to close out with this. You have a choice. You can keep struggling, or you can create new results. And here's how I can help. They said that I could give a little pitch, so I wanted to give you guys a pitch. I've set aside some time in the next 7 days to speak to you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your business right now. Whatever your biggest challenges are, I promise I've seen them, and I can help you with them. On that session, I'll work with you to create a step-by-step game plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be. Okay? What came up for you in this presentation? Where are you struggling? Also, where are you thriving? We'll be able to outline all of those and help give you a step-by-step game plan to get to achieving your goals. The cost is free. Why is it free? Because, skipped one. Well, I don't have that one. I'll tell you why it's free. There's 2 reasons. I love to give back, but that's not everything. I know when we sit down and go through these goals with each other that you might want some help. So it's a way to build my business as well. We can talk about that. If we sit down and we decide, okay, you'd like to move forward and do something else, then we can discuss that. Or not. Either way, it's totally fine. But I am very picky about who I like to work with. You must be an action taker. You have to be outstanding at what you do. You have to be a leader. You have to hold yourself to the highest standards of integrity. And you have to be willing to do the work and be coachable. There it is. I already talked to you. Who it's not for is people that aren't willing to invest in themselves. People who whine, complain, basically aren't coachable. I really can't help you if that's the case. So if we were online right now, this is where people would go to apply for one of those spots. I blocked out 5 spots. I'm going to hand out applications for you guys. And if I feel like it's a good fit, you can, if you'd like to take me up on this, you can fill out one of these and put it in this blue folder, which I'll put on this table. If I feel like it's a good fit, I'll reach out to you. And if I don't feel like it's a good fit, then I won't. But either way, I wanted to give you guys this opportunity because I know these events, you get great tidbits of information. You might have even got a light bulb moment. But as a coach, I know that if you don't take it to that next step and put it into action, then autopilot kicks in. A year from now, I might give you a call and say, how did that presentation change your life and your business? You might be like, oh crap, I'm still doing the same stuff. So I wanted to offer that to you guys, and I'd like to open it up now for questions, Q&A. Either an aha moment, insight, or a specific question for me about how you can upgrade your workflow. Yeah.
How does this deal with the learning curve of what you're doing?
So learning curve being like, there's something really difficult, and I'm here, and it's like this big jump. Go back to the flow map, flow state. Okay? That's okay.
It's getting home. So, it's just that, I'm sorry. It's just that you have all these things that people are telling you you have to do to get to do what you're doing. And I'm good at most of them, but it's still a learnable thing to me, and it's anxiety-driven kind of thing. So,
I fully understand, as I said, spending a full day in bed, saying no to everything, clearing the decks, 3 days doing nothing. You hit the nail on the head when you said anxiety. Thinking that you have to do all these things. So go back to the map of the flow state. The challenge is too high. You're trying to be something that's impossible, it sounds like. And so you got to build the skill level. Calling in for help. Asking somebody else to help you out. Maybe you don't need to do it all on your own. And that can look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. Okay? You can hire a teammate. You can look to go into business with a partner. You can hire a consultant, a coach for whatever that specific problem is. Or, if it's an internal thing, you can look at getting help from that. There's always a way. Okay? Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Yeah.
I feel like I'm where you're at. Yeah, seriously, just like, and I have many times. Just stop. What am I doing? Because there's certain things as you're learning a trade or something, that you go, okay, I don't know that yet. So that's where I guess the challenge is. Because then you go, well, I'm going to find out learning. Right, everybody's telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this. I can't do the way that they would. Do it the way that you need it right. Because people tell you that this is the way it is, but this is the way it works. And then when he wants to take that into account,
Maybe the thought is they don't really know. And you think they do.
that's true.
That's what I found. There's so many gurus out there saying this is the way. This is the best way. You know what? That's the way they did it. That's not the way to do it. And I would argue that's not the way you should do it. When I talk about the hustle and grind, those are buzzwords. I do not align with that. I do not want to hustle. I want to be doing what I love.
I think the more time you spend when you're in that flow channel too, I mean, my aha was when you're in that flow channel, time, you're not distracted. So when I'm referring about distractions, when you get distracted is when you're in that boredom thing or when you're in that anxious thing, because either one makes you do something else. Like when you're in that flow channel, like when you're feeling overwhelmed by stuff, if you can do something that puts you in that flow channel, confidence increases, everything is like better, and you don't worry so much about everyone telling you what you should do. So if you can do anything to get yourself in that flow channel, not only are you going to get done, you feel that. Because sometimes you can spend so much time in either one of those places, but if you can overwhelmed by stuff, do anything to put yourself there, everything's fine.
I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say that if we sat down and talked for 45 minutes, it'd be the best 45 minutes you spend in your business. I'm confident. So, let me know if you want to talk. Thank you guys so much. Any other questions, comments?
How do you change a culture, a work culture, that glorifies busyness and working hard, not smart? And then also, off of that, do you notice a difference generationally of work ethic? Or is the millennial generation working harder and stupider? Or is there any, does that come into play?
Two very big questions that I might need to talk to you after about. But hey, culture, how to change culture. That has to start with leadership. So it has to start at the top and has to infiltrate every single part of your company. Okay? So I'd start by creating what's called a vivid vision, outlining what's your goal 3 to 5 years out for the company that you are building. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What are people doing? What are they talking about in the water cooler? And go into vivid detail. Write it out. Give it to a graphic person to make it graphically appealing. Take both of those things and give them to every single one of your employees. So everybody knows where we're going. And this is who we are. Okay? B, millennials. I think the work ethic thing is, I don't think there's any difference in work ethic. I think what we're working with is very different. The information age versus, okay, I'm just going to be manufacturing, putting things together. You know, that's a really gross, representation, but that's basically it. It's like we're using this so much more these days, and it's taxing our brain. I don't think evolutionally our brain is caught up with it. So there's all kinds of other things going on. I'd love to talk to you about that. Hope that helps.
Well, my first comment.
Last question.
I work with non-profits, and one of the challenges I face is the founder syndrome. Sometimes the founder, regardless of age, needs to get out of the way for the organization to grow to its great potential, or make the decision that where they're at is where they want to be, and quit the bullshit about wanting to grow larger and serve more people and that kind of thing.
There you go.
And so I encourage people not to fall into the founder syndrome. Is make a decision, as you said, where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And I mean, I'm perfectly happy doing what I'm doing. I can walk away from business.
There you go.
I can take business on. I'm in a little different situation than probably a lot of people, but you have to make that decision. And that's the hard part. The hard part with a lot of people is to say, look, this isn't a good deal. The headache is not worth the money. And get the hell out of here. And the same thing with your employees. If it's not a good fit, then you are actually doing them a disservice by letting them stay. And I'll cover the name. This is a group I work with. It says, do what you love. And we've done little posters and other things. And I think that's important for people to understand. If you're not happy 90% of the time, then figure it out, like you said.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.